Welcome to the Rise Inside podcast, hosted by Justin Starbird and powered by Rise Robotics. Listen as host Justin talks to experts from the Rise team about topics relating to mechanical engineering, industrial design, commercialization, and innovation. True collaborations work when ideas are integrated at inception to solve significant problems. Rise Inside brings together how the team continues to work with great folks to commercialize ideas. You're listening to the Rise Inside podcast. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to the Rise Inside podcast. My name is Justin Starbird. Today I get to continue the series on the important pieces of Rise that make us so special. Today we're continuing on the Inside Rise series. I get to welcome Senior Electrical Engineer Eric Kong to the show. Eric, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
This is pretty exciting. I know you haven't been with Rise for too long, but I mean, sometimes it's old hat by now, no?
I wouldn't say old hat. No, Rise has been keeping me on my toes. They assigned me a lot of different projects. I'm already in, I think, like two of the main stand-ups, and I have to juggle between them. So, yeah.
That's exciting. You are the senior electrical engineer now. You're on, two of the big projects. Tell me a little bit about your role and what it looks like day to day.
Yeah, sure. So I'm part of the embedded team under Ben Dwyer. I think he was on the show previously. I do schematic capture, I do board design, and then I work with manufacturers for fabrication and assembly. And then once the boards are made, I do the board bring up, I do the debugging and the rework.
Great. What were you doing prior to joining Rise?
Sure. So prior to Rise, I was actually very short stint at this other company called Video Robotics. And then before that, I was at Boston Micro Machines. And I was creating their drive electronics.
Sure.
So I was the only electrical engineer there, and it was a little bit isolated. But I really enjoyed complete ownership of the design. So I think Rise is, a nice step in that direction of, having others to provide their input.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a team atmosphere here for sure. Thinking about, your role and the history you had before as your career got started. What is Rise to you? What about the mission, has made the jump, something that you want to do?
Okay, so let me see if I can answer this in a different way. So when I was interviewing for my next role, Rise was among the candidates, and they were the only ones that bought me lunch. No, that's not for nothing. So also, I have a newborn.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's, I think, 2 weeks old this Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks old. Yeah. Time is meaningless now.
Absolutely. It is less than a construct. It is, just passes you by.
That's right. And Rise offered to waive the normal waiting period to take that parental leave. And so, those two things. Also, when they took me on the on-site interview, that is really what sold me. They have an amazing space. They converted a auto body shop into an engineering playground.
Yep. Well, all right. So I got to ask. Everybody's got to know what was it that you had for lunch?
I had Flour. Flour Bakery. I had a sandwich from there.
So, so is the deal is consummate. As going back in history, so much can be solved. Eating a good lunch.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So knowing about our lab, as we affectionately call the converted auto body shop, as you walk through, what were your thoughts initially? Did you meet the team right away, or were you just enamored with all the exciting tools?
I was blown away by just the size. I saw the videos online before, but it really doesn't do it justice. You need to see it in person. And again, like they didn't actuate it on my interview day, but like later on, I think the like MHU 83, seeing that move is very impressive, and seeing how fluid it is and how precise it can be. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Was there any intimidation, or you're like, I'm gonna jump in with both feet?
So a long time ago, I attended this retirement party at Teradyne, and the individual retiring, he was the chief financial officer. And before that, he had done just about every other role leading up to that. Like they grabbed him off the street and were like, do you want a job? And they put him on a diode tester. And from there, he worked his way all the way up to chief financial officer. And somebody else there said like, okay, well, you're at the end of your career. I'm at the beginning of mine. What's some advice that you would give a young engineer like myself? And he said, at every stage, I felt intimidated sometimes. Like I didn't know like if I could do it. But my advice to you would be to get in over your head. That is when I had the most growth, is when I got in over my head.
Yep. So, I mean, at this point, are you treading water yet, or are you?
No, not quite. I think
Yeah.
Ben does a really good job managing his team. I feel supported by, the management. I think they understand that, engineering is going to run into problems, and that we're here to solve them.
Yeah. What is it, thinking about Ben and the opportunity to make mistakes it's a positive experience as opposed to being reprimanded. What does that do for you in terms of, as you look at problems that you are trying to solve? Does that give you, some confidence that, hey, you can try it out a certain way, or, do you lean back on, what you've always done?
So I think that there's two things. Number one, it gives you a sense of ownership over the project that you're doing. It definitely does lean to that confidence, and that, you can just take the shot, like just try things. Because again, like a lot of times we'll either get a solution to a related problem, failing at something else. Or again, like when you are, in the thick of it, either in the design or in like debugging, and you're trying different things, sometimes you can also gain knowledge that's applicable further down the road. Like you just don't know.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Thinking, is it something that you always thought you'd get into as something like this, or, when you're
my favorite story to tell.
okay.
So this one starts like around like my birth. So my parents asked basically like a fortune teller, like, okay, like what should his career path be? And being Asian descent, there was only two right answers. You had doctor or lawyer, right? So I was supposed to be a lawyer, and I took it seriously for a long time. Our next door neighbor growing up in Hollis, he was a corporate lawyer, and I asked him like, okay, what are the things I need to do? Like, what's your day-to-day like, and so on and so forth. So for a long time, that was the path that I was on, until sixth grade came along, and we had a rocket project, and we had to launch a raw egg as high as you could, and then rescue it. And the mechanism that I chose, I wanted it to be close as possible to the real thing. So I knew I could bubble wrap it, but that wasn't satisfying. So I wanted to do a parachute. And after, like, it was successful. But yeah, I was on, pins and needles leading up to it. And then I thought to myself, I'm actually good at this. Like I had resisted for a long time, being an engineer. Like people were telling me, like my dad was, I was like, oh, you're an engineer. And then that was what solidified it. Like,
Yeah.
This is something that I'm good at.
So how did you connect the parachute to the egg?
So there was a little bit of foam around the egg. And then I think the parachute deployed via a duct tape hinge. And let's see, I only got up maybe like 12 meters. The rocket like more or less exploded, and then it's as if it hit the eject button, and it just drifted silently over the hill. It was phenomenal to watch.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, not everybody finds their calling in sixth grade. The fact that you had two by the time you were 12, I mean, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So how did you follow that now passion from the age of 12ish or so through where'd you end up going to school? What how'd you find your way to Rise ultimately?
Sure. So my dad was also an electrical engineer, and I thought that I would get into what he did, which was he was a process engineer for like BAE, Sanders, a lot of defense companies, and he did semiconductor devices. And so I thought that maybe that's something I would get into. So I think I applied to electrical engineering and also material science at McGill.
Mm-hmm.
I was waitlisted for the materials, but I was accepted for electrical engineering. But even before that, in high school, I did first robotics. And then again, through my dad's company, they had something called Explorers. And basically what they did was they took a bunch of their employees and they said like, hey, we've got these, impressionable youths. And they threw us in a room with, a bunch of toys. So I think that was the first time I lit fire to an LED.
Yep. Wow. That's cool. I mean, what do you do outside of work right now that, we talk about this often, especially on this show, is that, you put so much into the work. And I wouldn't say there's no pressure to work long hours or anything like that, but it's, there's definitely a passion to, the work that's being done. It starts with Blake and of course, Aaron and Tomas. They all have a strong passion for what we're trying to accomplish, and an expectation that you're gonna follow through with what is there. How do you refill that creativity cup when you leave? I know you said now you've got a newborn, and that's very exciting. That's going to drain you a little bit more. Are there any things that that you do for yourself?
Oh yeah, I play a lot of games. I love strategy games. I'll never give that up. Even with the newborn, she's sitting in my lap and we're discussing, the next turn. So
Yeah.
Yep, we've got like a massive here. I can show you actually a massive board game collection over here.
There you go.
Yeah. So my wife is also into strategy games too, so that helps. I also really like Legos. And take you over here.
Yeah.
This is Rivendell.
Oh, there you go. Ah, she'll love Frozen.
Yeah, so I really like Lego strategy games. Ben is starting to get me into I guess other like electronics like as a hobbyist. So he gave me a little guy. I don't know if you can see it. Right. This is an ESP32. So I haven't gotten a chance to use it, seeing as we have a newborn, but I am looking forward to breaking into that.
Yeah. Well, and newborn's going to absolutely keep you busy.
Right.
That is this your first child?
This one.
Yeah, that is exciting. So the newest member of the Rise team.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll be an engineer for sure. My wife is a software engineer. I'm hardware, so maybe she'll be a firmware.
Yeah. No, that's great. That is awesome. That is so exciting. And whereabouts, do you live? Is it a quick commute to the office or?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy commute. So I can either go by public transit, which is kind of a requirement for me, or it takes, I think, like 20 minutes by car. So yeah, easy.
That's not bad. Well, fortunately, there are a lot of known obstacles. It's not like we're running into unknown stuff now at Rise. How do you approach some of the challenges that you see in front of you each day? Are there a process that you follow, or how do you center yourself before you're like, I don't know the answer to that. This is how I'm going to go about finding it.
Okay. So I think my first instinct is to understand what type of problem it is, and whether or not this is in my wheelhouse or outside of it. So like anything like inside my wheelhouse, then I would say, that would just be like, pacing back and forth a lot of the time, trying to mull things over, asking other, electrical engineers, some of their experiences. Also, Ben's a great resource. And then sometimes too, like asking people that don't know anything and like having them ask dumb questions. I'm serious, because like you would be surprised like how many times they're like, is it receiving power? And you're like, yeah, of course it is.
You're like, no.
Oh, that always helps. Yeah. And then things outside of it, like I said, I think the support here is, second to none. I don't think there's ever been a situation where, someone hasn't stuck their neck out and said, like, yep, I'm willing to jump on it.
That's cool.
So,
Did you ever think you'd get involved in, essentially heavy machinery?
No, I did not. We're definitely a long way from where I had started. So at Teradyne, I started at signal integrity.
Yeah.
Now the heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Never thought about it.
Was the vision part of, of course, lunch was vital. But was the vision of what RISE is, what we're trying to accomplish, did that play a role in accepting the position?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not just the space itself, but that everyone else was excited to work in that space. RISE has a lot of talented and intelligent individuals, and I think that is really what makes working here so rewarding.
Do you see obstacles, preventing it right now in your way, whether that's, solving the next problem or putting the next iteration out?
Right now, no, I don't think that there's any like major obstacles. I think we just need to execute on the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are you most looking forward to next? Here we are just starting, Q2 of 2024. You're now a few months into the new role, get personal responsibilities that are new to you as well. I mean, that's a lot of excitement, but what are you most looking forward to?
So I had heard from Kyle, I believe, and I think a little bit from Aaron, that there's a potential collaboration with the Wind Technology Testing Center. They have a need where hydraulics is insufficient. Like they have state-of-the-art hydraulics, and it's not enough for what they need. Mm-hmm. And I think this would be the perfect opportunity to demonstrate value from RISE.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That would be that'd be a game changer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited to have had you on the show, Eric, and learn a little bit more about you and what you're looking forward to, what you're excited about. These interviews are always so cool because they get to open us up to what else is going on. I know sometimes you work right next to somebody every single day, and then you don't even know what they're about. So these are the InsideRISE is such a cool series for me to be able to shed light on what makes you tick.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, if you have any other ideas or things that you'd like to talk about, by all means, you're always more than welcome to come back.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me again.
Likewise. On behalf of my guest, Eric Kong, Senior Electrical Engineer from RISE Robotics, you've been listening to the RISE Inside podcast. Until next time.
You have been listening to the RISE Inside podcast, presented by RISE Robotics. On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening. Please share your feedback on our LinkedIn page